Is there another announcement? Well, hypothetically, I think so. Now, nothing I say is financial advice, and later on in the video, I'll talk about my thoughts, what I just saw recently when it comes to the price of ICP, because we did see a slight movement in the past 24 hours. But before that, I want to talk about what is that announcement. Now, Dfinity yet again announced another speaker that's going to hypothetically be appearing in the World Computer Day event, I suppose. Now, it's going to be in Davos in Switzerland in 2026, though, next year in January. However, the speaker that they're talking about here is Anne-Marie Buzatu. And supposedly, Anne-Marie is the executive director for something called ICT for Peace Foundation. Now, supposedly, when it comes to this, right, this ICT for Peace Foundation, allegedly ever since 2003, so we're talking about over 20 years at this point, they allegedly have been involved in that sort of cyberspace space, right? That's what I like to call it. And they are kind of focused on peace and as well as security. So I find that pretty cool. Now, when I take a look at something like this is already on top of Dr. Alex, right? Which I talked about in my previous video, in which that was another speaker that was, again, supposedly going to be speaking in that event. And he is a very accredited professor, supposedly. We take a look at the stuff he's done at MIT, for instance. So yeah, besides that point, when I take a look at this, a lot of people initially, when I talked about the event, they were saying, oh, it's just going to be a joke. No one's going to care about it. But it seems like as time is going on, the quality of what I'm seeing when it comes to the event in terms of what's going to be there, it seems to be pretty impressive to me, because we take a look at how it seems like they're taking the event seriously. And also on top of that, I take a look at how they're constantly working on having more speakers, allegedly, appearing in that event. So I do like what Dfinity seems to be doing. And, if Dfinity does something, if let's say something hypothetically good does come to it, I am pretty excited, I guess, especially when I consider the aspects of the internet computer. However, even besides that, when I take a look at the price of ICP, it's now 1 cent below $3. Now, in the grand scheme of things, is this necessarily the coolest thing of all time? Well, not really, right? I mean, we did see a slight movement in the past 24 hours. So if let's say ICP could maintain slightly above $3, I'd be pretty excited when it comes to that. Who knows what it will be by the time I upload this video, but I'm just saying, when I take a look at ICP, I do like at least some activity, right? At least I like seeing something, because things are looking so boring to the point that even like a 4% movement in a positive direction sometimes is already very exciting. It's just because things have been boring for so long, personally, in my perspective. Like the altcoin space as of right now, there's almost nothing that I could really be entertained about, right? I mean, there's really nothing that exciting going on. So just seeing a project sometimes hypothetically do 5% or like 10% or something like that, sometimes it just keeps me a little bit excited, I suppose, even though in the grand scheme of things, ICP is still down by quite a lot, right? Especially not too long ago, we saw it at over $18, but right now, around that $3 range. Of course, it's not hypothetically doing the best, but at least I'm pretty I would say, elated, right? To see something like this in a more minuscule sense, where I'm not super excited, but I'm a little bit elated in a way where it's at least something. That's the way I take a look at it. And I think that, as time goes on, eventually, if they're going to be announcing more and more speakers, I think it kind of makes the event more kind of recognizable, right? It makes it a little bit more serious in my perspective, because some other projects out there, they try to do things, but they don't really treat it seriously. So I do like what I'm seeing when it comes to this. Now, when it comes to Dfinity, people like to tell me, well, what are they really doing? Well, we have to take a look at it. I mean, they've done quite a lot, right? As of late, we take a look at, for instance, in the case of Caffeine AI, now we take a look at World Computer Day. So when I take a look at it, I feel like they're at least still doing something. Am I still thinking about $100 when it comes to ICP? I haven't forgotten about that. However, here's the thing. When it comes to the idea of 100, right? I mean, we're over 33 times lower than that. To be a little bit more specific, we're actually around 33 and a half times lower than that. But I haven't forgotten about it, because when I just take a look at the grand scheme of things, when I take a look at the internet computer, when I take a look at the aspects of Caffeine AI and what Dfinity has done so far when it comes to this whole internet computer, I guess, space, right? I feel like it's actually a little bit more impressive than what I see from a lot of other projects out there. And the way you take a look at it is at the hypothetical idea of $100, the market cap considering current circulating supply at that point would be around 54 billion. In which case, some people may be thinking, whoa, why am I still even thinking about that? Well, if I take a look at some other projects out there, which I feel like doesn't have the resume that the internet computer has, or should I say Dfinity as well, right? I mean, it just doesn't feel like they have that. I've seen like some of them, especially years ago, reach a market cap way higher than this. And just to kind of give a little bit of an example, even though I personally believe that when it comes to BNB, hypothetically, there's been a lot for it, but I'm just going to use that as an example. Like even back in 2021, at one point I saw BNB reach a market cap of over 100 billion. And that was like, years ago. I mean, we're almost in 2026. Now, BNB reached a new all-time high during this cycle, whereas ICP did not even surpass $20 in this cycle, right? But even still, despite that, I don't think I've seen an altcoin season. So I think, hypothetically, I just don't want to leave. However, I just don't want to because I haven't seen an altcoin season. So I'm still staying patient, even though, again, I don't necessarily have to. But in the meantime, I did want to make a video talking about this World Computer Day event because, I guess it's something for me to kind of keep positive about at a time like this. And seeing ICP do something in the past 24 hours, yeah, I'm pretty excited when it comes to that, but not too much in the grand scheme of things because it hasn't really done much as of late. Even though not too long ago, actually, we saw around $9 when it comes to ICP, right? And that just did it out of nowhere. Or should I say, let me rephrase myself there. It just kind of felt like it happened out of nowhere. And the thing is, when it comes to that, that was literally what? We take a look at it, right? That was just back in November. So we're talking about last month, literally last month. Like ICP was at around $9 and right now we're at around $3. So like a movement like that, in some cases, just randomly happens, right? And it's totally beyond my control. So what could happen if, let's say, there was an altcoin season? Because I don't think that was. I mean, was there an altcoin season last month? I hypothetically don't think so. That's just my perspective. And it kind of did that out of nowhere, it felt like. Like, keep in mind, at around $18 not too long ago, that was considered pretty impressive when it comes to ICP. But then last month we saw $9 when it comes to ICP. So it was just like around 2 times lower than $18, right? Basically. But I just wanted to say that, that's what I can see from the charts. However, I am still staying patient. I'm still holding, and that's about it. I'm just going to wait, and I'll see what happens in 2026. I guess that's pretty much about it, but I'm not telling anyone to do anything. This is just my personal perspective when it comes to this, and I want to say thank you for watching. I hope you all have a nice day, and if there's going to be more updates, I'm going to be making more videos when it comes to that. And again, I want to say thank you, and I'm out. Peace. Bye. It's Mali the Captain.